Hey guys, so I guess this is part two. My camera card ran out of space, and all of a sudden the video stopped rolling. I may try to connect the two videos, but that last video is actually kind of long enough, and I realized since I got to do the second part anyways, I might just do a complete second video to kind of add to my gear, my clothing gear content. So I think this will probably actually be part two. So apologize for the abrupt ending on the last part, or on part one. This will be part two. What I'll do is let me turn the video for a second and talk about gloves. So when I started the ride, I have the one pair of gloves. I love these fingerless gloves. This is what I prefer to ride in. And then I had a pair of these lobster claw waterproof. And what I discovered very quickly in Newfoundland with the amount of rain, that two pairs of gloves was not nearly enough to give dry time. So in Gander, I ended up going to the Mark's Work Warehouse and got a second pair of these fingerless gloves because, like I said, this is my kind of preferred go-to for pedaling. And then I got a second pair of waterproof. So I actually have four gloves, four pairs. I don't think that's overkill when things get wet, like they're soaked. And in particular, even though these are waterproof, enough rain, they get wet, and trying to dry even any of them. I mean, these are my older pair, and I had a few times where literally I squeezed out a cup of water per mitt. That just does not dry quick enough to be able to cycle the next day. So I have four pairs of gloves. I also have bar mitts, and I guess typically these are for winter time, obviously, to keep the wind off your hands, to keep your hands from freezing. That has not been my situation as far as wind freezing my hands. It has more to do with in the rain. It doesn't take long before my hands are drenched, and the bar mitts are keeping my hands warm. So I've actually used the bar mitts a few times already. I love those. Those are working great. I also have a pair of waterproof, they're waterproof rain pants or whatever. I just slip them on and off whenever needed. I also ride with Gators. Originally, the motivation with the Gators had not so much to do with rain and wet, which is part of the purpose, but was for the chain oil. I always found that when I pedaled my bike, I would get chain oil on my right hand pant leg, and so I'd have to literally wash pants every time I got out on the bike. And so the Gators prevented that chain oil, kept my pants clean, but then obviously they do help keep things dry. I also got these. I have not needed to use these as of yet because the temperatures have not been cold enough. These are some type of laminate bootie that goes over your socks. Got them from the same company, Wiggies.com, where I got all the fishnet. There was a few reviews online that spoke very, very, very highly of them, and I thought that, what the heck, I'm going to give them a try. And actually, speaking of footwear, the one item that I don't have here, but I also got it from Wiggies because I sensed it would be an issue with footwear, is I have these, actually I guess I can turn this around. I do have these rectangular fabric. They're just this some type of laminate, I don't know, synthetic wicking material fabric. I'm not entirely sure what they are, but they're like, it's I guess for lack of a better way of putting it, so they're like a tea towel type thing but thicker. Anyways, every night I shove them into my boots, and the idea is that whatever this material is it pulls the moisture out of the boots, because obviously that's, you know, when your toes freeze in the winter in your footwear, that's, you know, obviously that's the moisture. Our feet sweat tremendously. I don't think I have a foot sweating problem per se, but I do know for a fact that our feet do sweat considerably. And so I use these pieces of fabric. I put one in each boot, and over the course of the night, they help pull the moisture out of my boot. So that's, to me, that seems like the best way to dry a boot out in the middle of winter, in your tent kind of deal. So I also have that for keeping my footwear dry. Not that it helps necessarily when the boots are soaked in the rain, but as far as foot sweat, I use them. And so I think that kind of more or less really covers all my clothing gear. I'm really happy with what I have and what I picked. I mean, I'll just call it luck. Really, like I said, the only thing that I purchased on the road that I ended up not having enough of is gloves. So like I said, I have 4 pairs of gloves. Might seem like overkill. I mean, but when you are out there and there's no way to properly dry your hands, like your gloves, I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're kind of screwed. I've actually been really lucky, because I have gotten myself drenched numerous times, and I've always gotten lucky where the opportunity presented itself to allow myself to completely dry out. Even this last time, like I said, I'm doing this video at some friend's house in Englishtown, Nova Scotia. When I got off the ferry, it was light rain. I pedaled 42 kilometers here. By the time I got here, it's weird, you know, every time you think you're as wet as you can possibly get, and then you even get wetter. And I was drenched by the time I got here, just drenched. I would have had to have found a hotel if my friends weren't here. That being said, I don't think there is any hotels even nearby. I was probably so wet that I probably would have had to knock on someone's door, just being so soaked, because then I would have had to, you know, gone through the night, and there would have been no way to dry my clothing, because it is pretty isolated out here. So I'll be honest, I've dodged numerous bullets, for sure, when it comes to the weather and the rain. But like I said, as far as what I brought with me, you know, I did mention in the last video about my boots, and I was already aware of that, and I'm working on that. But like I said, I've only bought 2 pairs of gloves basically since I've been on the road, so I'm pretty pleased with my initial assessment of what I may or may not need. That being said, the next temperature level is, you know, -5 to -10, and so I guess I'm just gonna have to play that by ear as far as how my gear is working and how warm I feel or I don't feel, and just adjust accordingly. Always open to advice and suggestions when it comes to that, because ultimately a lot of my choosing and my picking and how I did what I've done is, like, so far is obviously come from from advice from other cyclists and whatnot. So I think maybe then I think that's where I'm going to call it a cut when it comes to the winter gear. I know there's probably a few people interested on, you know, how my winter or my riding gear was working so far. So yeah, other than that, website www.safariearie.ca. That's Arie, A-R-I-E. And yeah, I look forward to doing more content. Enjoy doing this. But anyways, that's it for now. Thanks. Bye. Wherever this record button, you know, whatever. There we go.